All right, we'll take another shot at doing a Facebook Live this morning. Got out here earlier, about 90 minutes ago, and as soon as we got started, all the industrial mowers in the neighborhood all fired up at once. Sometimes the universe just wants to send you a message. We're talking this week on our ongoing email series about moving past wounds inflicted by the church. And the reason I'm talking about that is because when I start working with people in spiritual direction, it is the number one thing that people want to talk about, is the place where I have to start with almost all of my clients. And so I thought that would be a good thing for us to talk about on the Facebook Live today. If you don't currently receive that email from me every day, you can find that at askredbackpack@gmail.com. Just send me an email at that address, and I will make sure that you get on the list. And this week we're talking about how to deal with wounds inflicted by the church. And it's really, it's not a process as much as it's three different stages that I've been talking about. They all begin with an A. First is addressing the hurt. It's about admitting that the hurt exists and looking really closely about how it affects your life and moving forward, particularly about using your own spiritual gifts. A product or a problem that is not defined well is a problem that's not going to be able to be solved. The other part, the one we're going to spend a lot of time on today, is allowing God to work through that hurt. In fact, that's a subject that I'm going to talk about here in a couple of minutes, and it's a time-intensive process, but it is some of the most valuable work that you can do. And finally, the last day is advancing with the pain. It's not a matter of leaving it behind. It's advancing with the pain and realizing that it is something that is going to inform and something that's going to fuel you in the future. I just want to share a little story today about this whole process of allowing God to work through the pain. Worked in ministry for a lot of years and got out because of, long story short, burnout and disappointment. But I couldn't get far enough away from it. It kept coming back and tracking me down, especially this whole pursuit of contemplative spirituality, working as a spiritual director, dealing with that handful of people that are always out there that are looking for something more. And so at a conference a few years ago, what I did was I looked up one of the speakers, a guy named Ian Cron. Ian wrote a great book called Chasing Francis, about St. Francis. Ian's a terrific guy, and I told him that I wanted to work with a spiritual director who could take me through a very specific process. It's called the 19th Annotation. Ignatius of Loyola developed it. You can look it up. It's a fantastic process, but it's something that you have to be specifically trained to do. And I knew it was something that I wanted to go through. I was ready to make that commitment. And I told Ian what I was looking for and why I wanted to do it. I knew that I had to move past some serious blocks and hurts in the church. And he looked at me and he said, "You sound like an effing Episcopal priest." And that's part of the reason that I like Ian, because he doesn't hold anything back. I said, "No, my background is far from anything like that, but I just know clearly that this is work that I need to do." And so he said, "You got to go talk to Gail." And so I went and I found Gail. Gail had lived with the Jesuits for a couple years and learned how to do this type of spiritual direction work. And so I set up a meeting with her and told her what I wanted to do, and she was not terribly enthusiastic about going into it, not because she didn't care, but because she knew how much work it was going to be. And I now tease her after the fact, a few years later, that she thought she had the choice of telling me no when she never really did. I was going to make sure this got done one way or the other. But what it turned out to be was she began to work me through these old exercises, stuff that I was familiar with, but I had never done at this depth before. And it was hard. And it opened up things that I was not ready to open up with. And it took me to places that I didn't necessarily want to go. But what I knew was that the other choice was that I would be stifled permanently, and that I would never have a place to go with this thing that I was designed to do. And so I worked with Gail, and Gail worked with me, and she's terrific. And you can find her at Dove House Ministries here in Nashville. But what it did was, and there we go, dogs, hop down. That's what happens when you do things outside. You get the mowers or the dogs. But what happened is it allowed me to take the time and devote the energy to working through the hurt so that I could be and step into the role that I was always designed to play. Now, the thing that's always got me about the process of spiritual direction, besides the difficulty of doing it in the wild with the dogs here, especially with the head beagle in charge and her partner there, Stella, is I always had to search this stuff out. I always had to go track somebody down to get this kind of work done. And I thought, surely there has to be a better way to do this. And so that's why I started doing things that aren't really acceptable, I guess, in my circles, where we're a little more quiet, a lot more introverted, and certainly nobody gets the word out there about what's available. What I decided was, actually, I do have to do that. I'm probably one of the guys that has to do that because I'm willing to do it. And so one of the places we start doing work, spiritual direction work, and specifically stuff that has to do with working past wounds that you receive participating in the church, is with the A.B.I.D.E course. And I talk about that a lot. There we go. I talk about that a lot in the emails. Lola, stop it. I talk about that a lot in the emails, and you can find a connection to that course or a link to that course. I'll put it in the comments after this Facebook Live. But again, the easiest place to find that is just to contact me. Askredbackpack at gmail.com. Redbackpack Spiritual Direction is the name of what I do. And just let me know that you're interested. I reply to every email I get, and I talk to everyone that contacts me. And I'd love to talk with you as well. Again, if you don't, if you're not currently receiving the emails, if you'd like to find out more about the A.B.I.D.E course, Askredbackpack at gmail.com. If you've been feeling the pull to do the work, if you have known that there is stuff that you're going to have to get past to be able to step in the life that God has designed for you, I get it. I've been there. I've done that. I continue to do it. And I invite you to come in the process with us. I'll be glad to help you. And at the church that I attend now, which is a wonderfully flawed, fantastic place, we have a little habit, and we pass the peace of Christ. And so that's what I do to you here to end up our time. May the peace of Christ be with you, and thanks for hanging out with me today. I appreciate it.